Good evening, everyone. Good evening. It's me, Juju. Come on in, make yourself comfortable. Um, we're going to get started at 7 o'clock p.m. with tonight's edition of Let's Talk. I pray that everyone has had a fabulous week, a fabulous Sunday. It's been a little breezy, but it has been a beautiful day. God has truly been blessing. I have enjoyed my worship today, and I just feel full and sanctified and satisfied. So come on in and make yourself comfortable, and we're going to get started at 7 o'clock with tonight's edition of Let's Talk. So, Mr. Jackson, I'm going to go ahead and pull you in here. How are you doing today? Hello to everyone. Hi, Adrielle. How's the party going? Uh, was Lynn thoroughly surprised by the surprise party? I pray that she was. Um, Hello, Mr. Jackson. Good evening. Thank you so much for joining me.
Absolutely. I would not have
Would not have missed it for the world.
no, I would not.
Okay. So how has your day been, Mr. Jackson?
It has been a whirlwind. Okay.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
I went to church. Um, I, I went to Beulah over in Atlanta.
Okay.
I was at a concert to hear Howard University Gospel Choir, and they were
Okay.
very, very good. And I got a chance to see a lot of people from Opelika.
Oh, well,
This
that's great.
one of our own Opelikans is a member of the gospel choir, um, Taylor Bryant. Uh,
Okay.
and, and
Taylor's son. Okay, that's nice. And okay.
they brought,
Hello,
they,
Duchess. I did not expect to see you here tonight, but
no,
I'm so glad that you joined. Hello, Vinny E. I did not expect to see y'all. How was the party? They're in Cincinnati, Jerry, so they're joining me from Cincinnati, joining us from Cincinnati.
I saw the
So
photo.
I'm so overly appreciative of you guys. If you all would do me a favor when you come in, if you would please like this video and share it, invite a friend. And tonight we're going to be talking about vaccinations, whether to vaccinate or not to vaccinate. That is the question. But anyway, oh, you're between engagements. Oh, okay, okay. So you all have something else that you all are doing as well. All right, man. Well, that sounds good. Enjoy yourself. Well, um, Mr. Jackson, of course, will help me hold down the fort as he usually does. So appreciate and so love my brother. He's always got my back.
Uh,
But anyway, it is 7 o'clock p.m., so we can go ahead and get started. Thank you guys. Welcome to this week's edition of Let's Talk. I am your host, Juju, and I'm coming to you live from my living room this evening. Each week here on Let's Talk, we will discuss current events and their impact on the Black community. We will also highlight local Black-owned businesses, local entrepreneurs, local artisans, and upcoming events, which will give small businesses an opportunity to showcase their products. Let's Talk is created to be a positive, uplifting, and informative discussion All constructive opinions are welcome, as we must learn to listen to and consider the opinions of others, even if we don't agree with them. This isn't a place to tear down anyone, but to uplift and to enlighten. Therefore, if your comments are not coming from a place of love and are not intended to uplift, we kindly ask that you find another forum to express them. We Please note that any opinions that I might share are strictly my opinions. This isn't intended to be a news show, but we will try our best to steer clear of gossip and things that are knowingly untrue. I hope this is a safe place where you feel comfortable sharing your opinions. About your host, I am a sinner saved by grace. Every good and perfect part comes from God. Therefore, I praise him and I give him glory anytime I'm given the opportunity. My motto is I am walking by faith, inspiring hope, and sharing love all along the way. All right, Mr. Jackson. Hello, Christine Thomas and Miss Darlene Todd, Miss Sandra Pelletier. Thank you guys for joining this evening. Mr. Jackson, I'll let you go ahead.
Thank you, Julia. So tonight we're going to be talking about something that has been near and dear to a lot of people's minds and hearts and their spirits, to vaccinate or not to vaccinate. But more importantly, I wanted to bring about some important announcements before we get started and get into it. And I'll circle back around after we finish this wonderful conversation. I wanted to bring up that St. Luke, my wonderful sister church, is going to be doing something that I know all of us can really get involved in, and that is we have an opportunity to support the church. St. Luke will be sponsoring and having a fish fry this Saturday, I
It's
believe.
Friday.
Uh,
It's
I'm
this
sorry,
Friday, the
it's this
15th.
Friday, the 15th. Um, at the church at the grounds, 1308 Auburn Street, whether rain, sleet, snow or shine. The fish fry will go on. I believe the plates are 12 for whiting and 15 for
Catfish.
catfish. So I posted that in the chat so you can see that. And it's going to be this Friday, the 15th. Is that the correct date?
That is correct. Friday the 15th from 11 a.m. until 3, but until probably
We
people stop coming to buy fish. Mm-hmm.
Just so
Yeah,
that you know, you can pre-order
yeah.
your meals by dialing 334-703-3419, and that is the number of Julia Thomas, and she will receive your order. You also can inbox me if you want to place an order, and I'll make sure that Julia gets that. But this is an opportunity to support St. Luke, a pillar in our community, to help them to make some much needed um, corrections and things to the foundation of the edifice. So we want to support them. And then I want to talk about another opportunity. We've got up and coming mother daughter who does a wonderful podcast. And we want you to go out and support them. It's uh, Divinely Guided podcast with Joyce Thomas Vinson and her daughter Adrielle. There will be a new episode every Monday, and I've posted that link so that you can actually go in and you can actually start working and working to support them and being inspired by the wonderful words that they're telling us. So don't forget, on the 15th, there is going to be a fish fry, and then our black business that we're sponsoring tonight. I want to talk a little bit about it. It wasn't given a name, but I want us to really be supportive of those black businesses that support us, and I really want us to support Juju by You. I want you to support her dollhouse. I want you to support the wonderful work that she puts into her dolls, the crocheting. I'm just, I'm amazed at some of the things that she can do. I purchased and I'm going to show it one of these days, something she made for my bed. She made a king size bedspread, and the pillows and all of that to match. It's an absolutely outstanding opportunity. But what I want you to do is support her, because if you notice, she's always out here supporting everybody else. So let's turn around and fair play and let's support her. So at this time, it is time for us to get into what we came here for this evening, and that is to talk. Let's talk. I want you to like, I want you to share, I want you to invite your contact list and tell them to come in and let's have an open conversation. Let's be candid. You're not going to be judged. We want to hear your concerns and your feelings concerning something that's highly controversial. It really is. There are a lot of non-vaxxers, and then there are also people that are vaxxers. So I'm going to put my 2 cents in when it gets to the conversation. But at this time, we're going to turn it over to our wonderful host, Juju Ardeen Thomas.
Good evening, everybody. And first of all, I see my sissy on the page. So I have to say happy birthday, Pooh. I love you so much. And happy birthday, Nick. Oh, those are my original dynamic duos. And they are, I'm not going to call it, well, Pooh posted it, so I can say they're 44 years old today. I cannot believe it, but happy birthday. I love you. I'll talk to you later. And Tiffany Williams, thank you for joining us as well, and everyone who's joined tonight. Our topic of discussion tonight is to vaccinate or not to vaccinate. That is the question. Um, I don't know how many of you guys have seen it in the news, but there has been, I'll get you back, Mr. Jerry, but I'm getting a little feedback, so I'm gonna go and I'll get you back.
No worries. You just take it on and bring.
Okay. And so there has been an widespread okay, so let us just say we there has been in the news a lot about measles lately. Now, because of the adoption of the measles vaccine, the MMR, which is a vaccine that's supposed to cover mumps, measles, and rubella, measles was declared eliminated in the United States in 2000, but the CDC has said that 2024 is shaping up to be a critical year for the measles virus. The number of measles diagnoses in the United States this year, and y'all know it's just March the 10th, has already surpassed the count for all of 2023. So here on March the 10th, we have already had more measles cases here in the United States than we had all of 2023. And as of February the 29th, the end of February, 16 states have confirmed cases of the measles. Okay. And the measles outbreak has been attributed to the decrease in the measles vaccination rate for the last 3 years in a row. So in the last 3 years, there has been a decrease in the number of vaccinations for measles in the United States. And according to the CDC, the increase in the measles outbreak and deaths are staggering, but unfortunately not unexpected given the declining vaccination rates we have seen in the past few years. The continuous decline in vaccination rate could potentially lead to outbreaks in other preventable diseases. What do you think is the reason for the decrease in the vaccination rate? That's my first question for you guys. There has been a decrease in the vaccination rate over the last 3 years, it says. What do you all think is the reason for that decrease in the vaccination rate? And according to the CDC, this is very alarming because we think of measles, mumps, rubella as just childhood diseases. And most of us probably think, well, I had the measles, I had the mumps, I'm here, I'm alive and well, I have a permanent immunity because of it. But the fact is, all of these childhood diseases can be deadly.
Absolutely.
And not only that, um, the childhood diseases, um, if you were like me, I never had mumps, but I had measles and rubella. And it's uncomfortable, very uncomfortable. High fevers, hives, bumps all over your body, dehydrated, some nausea. I mean, just all these things that go along with these childhood diseases. So, what do you think? Why do you think?
Okay, Julia, we have a response. There was one response that said Trump, but it disappeared. But we have a response from Darlene Todd that says some parents think it has bad side effects and causes long-term problems. So that's one of the responses that we've received so far. And then there was, and I'm not putting words in the person's mouth or in their mind that said Trump. I think he was a leading advocate of the non-vaxxers. So those are the two comments that we've seen so far.
Okay. Well, according to the CDC,
Excuse me,
six.
Julie.
Yes,
One
yes.
more. We've got a comment from Vinny Lewis who says disinformation.
Okay. And we're going to talk about some of those myths and some of that disinformation that may lead people to not vaccinate their children. Now, according to the CDC, 61 million doses of the MMR vaccine were postponed or missed between 2020 and 2022 because of COVID-related delays, people not taking their kids to the doctor for routine checkups and things like that. So the CDC is hoping that that is a major part of why a lot of kids have not been vaccinated. And hopefully, if that is the case, then they can catch up and they can get those vaccinations. But there has also been an increase in the anti-vaxxer sentiment in the past several years. In October of 2019, 82% of adults in the United States supported MMR vaccination requirements in school-age children. But currently, that figure is now 71%. So that is a 11% drop in the number of people who support MMR vaccination requirements. Okay, and I have to agree with Vinny E. A lot of that does have to do with some misinformation, some disinformation. And so we're going to look at some of that disinformation right now and just look at that and see some of that disinformation, some of those things that people are misinformed about. And now the first one is that vaccinations cause autism. And the reason for this myth is that, and it is a myth, there is no proof anywhere that vaccinations cause autism. There's no correlation between vaccination and autism. The thing about it is, autism generally shows itself around the 18, 19 month start. Kids start to show symptoms and become diagnosed around that 18, 19 months. And that's the same time that kids are receiving these MMR vaccinations. And so we have a lot of people out there, and it was really, really popular back in like 2002, early 2000s. That was a very popular notion that was spreading around. I'm sure you guys have heard that myth that vaccinations are associated with autism, and a lot of celebrities supported that myth. Among them were Jenny McCarthy, and too, it was Donald Trump was one of those who did say and support the idea that vaccinations cause autism. And we know today that 1 in 10 parents believe that MMR vaccination, that's the vaccination that is for measles, is unsafe. Now, another reason, another myth is that vaccines don't work. Now, the efficacy of that vaccines vary from vaccine to vaccine, and the efficacy, that just means how effective the vaccine is. If we look at the MMR vaccine, the measles vaccine, it is 99, it has proven to be 99% effective. 99% effective. That's pretty darn effective. Um, the flu vaccine, which we get our flu shots every year, is on the lower end of effectiveness, and it's proven to be about 50% effective. But still, that's better than zero. Half the people who take it will not contract flu if they come in contact with it. And so, I mean, that's something that you have to consider, especially when you're getting older. You have to think about, okay, well, if I contract flu and then I got high blood pressure, or I have diabetes, or I have the heart disease, you know, what are the risks? But anyway, um, so the flu vaccine, and I tried to find something on the efficacy of the COVID vaccines, but they're still doing studies on the COVID vaccine, so nothing that is solidified as far as how effective they actually are. And some of the other myths are that vaccines contain toxins, that they can overwhelm babies' immune systems, that the natural immunity is safer than vaccine acquired immunity. And granted, the natural immunity is probably more effective than a vaccine acquired immunity, but then there are so many risks of just letting your child get the disease and then develop that natural immunity. And other debunked myths is that there are effective natural and homeopathic alternatives to vaccine. Says good nutrition and hygiene will protect you from most viruses, might protect you from catching a cold, but I don't know. Um, it you can be, I can tell you for myself, when COVID first came, I wore my mask. I would walk around with a bottle of Lysol mix. I had the brown Lysol, in the little brown bottle. That's the real deal stuff. And every time I went to the bathroom, I'm spraying all the door handles, spraying all the knobs, spraying the commode, everything. And my brother said I was patient number one. I, yeah, I was the first one of the first ones to contract COVID. So, um, that you can have all the good hygienes that you want, but if it's something like COVID, which is airborne, um, you know, it's hard to prevent like that. Good vaccines are just a way for doctors and pharmaceutical companies to make monies, and vaccines aren't necessary, but those are some of the reasons that people choose not to vaccinate. So I'm going to ask you all a question. Do you all receive your annual flu vaccination? Do you all receive your annual flu vaccination? Now, I will tell you for me.
There is a response from Darlene Todd. She says he's autoimmune, so she gets her flu shot. Well, her doctors recommends that she gets the flu shot yearly.
Okay,
So
okay,
I
okay,
I I get the flu shot as well. Um,
okay.
Jean Thomas says that she does. I've been getting my flu shot for many years because I'm in the risk category. So I try to follow my doctor's recommendations.
Okay.
Science has proven that if you are vaccine, you may get it, but it's not going to be as severe or could cause
Mhm,
death. But even with our immune systems, when we're vaccinated, it sort of mitigates the disease from going to the most detrimental, catastrophic state by killing us.
mhm,
So I am an advocate of being vaccinated. Tiffany Williams says she did not get flu shots until she began working directly with the public. And Tiffany, thank you for that
mhm,
because that is really,
mhm,
really critical.
mhm. That is
E-
critical. And that was something that they really pushed for us at DHR. And that's when I started getting mine on a regular basis. I was working at Kmart and at DHR, so I was coming in contact with everybody. And so one year I caught the flu and I was sick. I was the nausea, the vomiting, the body ache, the fever, it was just horrible. And so I vowed from that point on, when they say flu shot, I'm first in line. So I do get my flu shot every year. I've been getting it every year since that time. And I can tell you, I have not contracted the flu. And y'all know Kmart been closed a long times, and this was years before Kmart closed. So it's been many years that I have been receiving the flu shot. And then I do have underlying health issues too, like the diabetes, the high blood pressure, that also um, inspires me to get my flu shot. And that's something everybody has to make their own decision about. Because when I was younger, I would tell you, my doctor told me, you're young, you're healthy. You don't need the flu shot. He would tell me that. But now that I've gotten older, he asked me, have you got your flu shot? Yes, Dr. Coop, I've got my flu shot. And this is the same doctor. I've had him since I was in college. Same doctor. So different situations and circumstances kind of dictate the thing. And I think as we get older, we probably need to consider very seriously about the flu shot because these diseases affect very young and the older people much more than much more severely than a young healthy person. Is there
So,
any other comments, Mr.
yes, Darlene said that she started years ago taking it when she was working in the medical field. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
uh, so, you know, I wanted to sort of put a twist on it a little bit. I hear so many people, and I mean in my circle, that refuse to take a vaccination. They come up with all of the excuses of they're putting something in me or they're trying to track me. I've heard all of these conspiracy theories that they're trying to track me. Okay, but um, we've been tracked ever since we've been here. If they can satellite and look at a car from the satellite, how do you think they can see what you're doing on your cell phone? Your cell phone tracks you. There is no more secrecy. So I'm still trying to figure out, what do people mean when they say they're trying to track me? Um,
I don't know, but Mr. Jackson, um, it 50% of adults in the United States get their flu shot every year. That's what statistics shows. For children, that's a little bit more. Even I guess if people don't get themselves vaccinated, they get their kids vaccinated. 58.6% of children are vaccinated. But the interesting thing is that um, the flu vaccination rate is lower in blacks than in all other ethnic groups. All of the groups, we are the least likely to be vaccinated as far as it goes to flu vaccination, and that also surprised me, but it was true with the MMR vaccinations, the childhood vaccinations. That was also true with the childhood vaccinations, that the uh, blacks are less likely to get their children vaccinated. So my question is, why do you think there is such a disparity between blacks and other ethnic groups when it comes to vaccinations? Why do you think we are less likely um, to receive our vaccinations than other ethnic groups? What is it? Is there some particular reason, do you think, that we don't want to get vaccinated, or is it availability of vaccinations? What do you guys think? I'm going to give you an opportunity to answer that question, because I really would like to know what our thinking is, and I would really like to hear from someone who chooses not to be vaccinated. And I really am interested, really interested, not to look, not to complain, not to judge, but just to know why you choose not to be vaccinated. I see that Vinny says there's a lack of information. The reason black people are less likely to be vaccinated, and I know you had said before, Vinny, that misinformation played a big part in it. When you say misinformation, are you talking about the things like Mr. Jackson? That just said also, I think that there's a distrust of the government. And that is one thing that I want to get at, because I have spoken with people who say, especially when they were developing when the COVID vaccine was coming out, and it was so many discussions about the government doing experiments on Black people, and I heard a lot about the Tuskegee experiment with syphilis. So people didn't really trust the government and trust the vaccines that they were developing. They were thinking, that the government just want to use us as guinea pigs. So tell me, what is a reason, if there is anyone who chooses not to be vaccinated, what is your reason for not being vaccinated? I would love to hear that if there is someone who chooses not to vaccinate. Okay, Mr. Jackson, do we have any other comments?
Well, no, at this point, there is no responses. We'll give them a few more minutes um,
Okay.
just to see if anybody um, chooses that would like to tell us why they chose not to vaccinate. I can just tell you in my circles, I hear that they don't trust the vaccine itself. And Tiffany says, as the first time mom, I was initially afraid, but I got over it quickly. So,
Okay.
and I can understand that. Thank you so much, Tiffany, for that.
And Tiffany, let me ask you this, okay? Because that's interesting to me. What was your initial fear, and what caused you to get over that fear? Uh, uh, what were you initially afraid of with getting your kids vaccinated, and then what was it that changed your mind about getting them vaccinated? And we're gonna give Tiffany an opportunity to respond to that too. And in the meantime, I want to pose the question is about the COVID vaccine. Since we were talking about that, have you had your COVID vaccine and your boosters? If so, why? If not, why not?
Okay, well, we got some responses coming in.
Okay.
Star Starlet says, I'm weird. I'm vaccinated for COVID, but not flu. Never ever received a flu vaccination. Not really a reason, just never have. Uh,
Okay.
Darlene Todd says, I will not take another COVID vaccine. And Tiffany says she was afraid of everything, and as usually, her mother eased her fears.
Okay. Okay, so you're not just talking about the COVID vaccine. You were afraid to give your baby the infant vaccines, the ones that they have as a baby. Darlene, you said that you would not take another COVID vaccine. Tell us, can you would you like to share why you would not take another COVID vaccine? Like I said, I was probably I was in the initial group before they had any vaccines, before they had any treatment, anything like that, when COVID came. And I stayed out of work with COVID for 6 weeks. And because of that experience, I was chomping at the bit to get a COVID vaccine. I was okay. Um, and I will tell you, I was a little afraid, but I was more afraid of contracting COVID again than I was of the vaccine. And I said my own personal thought was I take everything else, all this other medicine. I take diabetes medicine and the new medicine, the Mangiarno, and that's the newest diabetes medicine that they have. I'm taking that medicine. As a matter of fact, I asked my doctor for it. So I reasoned with myself the same labs that are making this medicine that I'm chomping at the bit to take are the same labs that are um, making these vaccines. And so I reason if I'm comfortable with these medicines, why wouldn't I be comfortable with these vaccines? Go ahead,
Okay.
Mr. Jackson.
Tiffany says she has been vaccinated and boosted against COVID. Her children had the first round of COVID vaccinations and boosters, but they haven't had them this year. And she agrees. We do take everything else that the doctor prescribes for us, and that's one of the issues I have with not wanting to be vaccinated. But as soon as we get a pain, we run and take a painkiller, or we get a headache, ibuprofen or whatever. We'll take that because we trust it.
Mhm.
But because you have a headache, that headache could not be because you have a headache. It could be something totally different going on with your body. But whatever the doctor recommends, when we feel like we're in dire straits, we'll take the medication. We go to the pharmacist and get whatever they tell us to get, and in the mouth we insert it. But the minute it's something about a vaccination, and I think it all goes back to what happened at Tuskegee. And it has caused a lot of the African Americans, the Black people, the Negroes, not to want to participate in getting vaccinated because they think it's a conspiracy.
Mhm.
And I can certainly see that, but on the other hand, I'm trying to prevent myself from going down the road of being sick. And
Mhm.
I, I, I really didn't mean to say Negroes. I
You
really
said it, though.
I didn't mean to say that. Oh my God. I don't know what.
You said it, Mr. Jackson, but we understand.
I was
Um,
reading
uh, uh,
something.
but
I was reading
that
something that's
you do hear a lot about the syphilis experiment at Tuskegee as reasons why people don't want to take vaccines.
response from Darlene.
Okay, okay,
Darlene that she took the first set of the vaccines. She really doesn't think it works for everyone. She has to have infusions monthly, so she doesn't think that they want to mix the two. And
okay.
they her
Okay.
she said
And
she didn't
like
want
I
to mix
said,
the
it's a personal. Sometimes you look at you and your doctor make those decisions because you all know what is best for you, and your doctor knows your medical history and everything. Because some people can't take the flu shot because they are allergic to some of the ingredients. Some people do have side effects. The what is it? Gideon syndrome. What is it? Baron G. Oh Lord, I'm massacring it. But it is one of those side effects that a lot of people get. And I wish I could think of it. Gideon Beret syndrome. That's it.
yeah.
And a lot of people that is a side effect of the flu shot. And there are some people who have had side effects from the COVID shot. And I think anytime you take any kind of medication, there's a risk of side effects because, when you're watching the commercials with about the medications and you look at the list of side effects, you be like, oh my God, I don't want to take that and go blind, hair fall out, nausea, vomiting, even death, and you think, oh, that scare you to death. But usually the percentage of people who have those major side effects is so small, you have to weigh the risk versus the reward.
And,
Are you at a higher risk? If you're allergic to eggs, then no, you wouldn't take a flu shot.
yeah. So
Because the risk is too great of you having a very bad reaction.
absolutely. So we have a response from Tiffany saying that she thinks it has a lot to do with being vaccinated against something that they might or that might happen as opposed to curing something they actually have. And Darlene said that she did not have any side effects from the COVID vaccine. So Tiffany has a great point because if you don't have it, and if you've never had it, vaccines, we don't look at taking medications to circumvent whatever the issue is with the vaccine. However, when you're sick, it's different. You have a different mindset. What can I get to take care of the issue that I'm having? So, Tiffany, thank you for that point. That's a very good point. And Darlene, thank you so much for being so engaged.
And thank you for sharing with us, Darlene, and being feeling safe to share what is actually going on, and that is our purpose for being here, for so that we can learn from one another. Um, so um, with the vaccines, what do you guys think about the children being vaccinated? The requirement for kids to be vaccinated or have certain vaccinations to attend school. Should that be a requirement? Should there be a requirement that says your children have to have this vaccination, this vaccination, this vaccination in order to attend public school? Should that be a requirement? I'm going to give you guys a moment to think about that. Do you think it should be a requirement in order for your children to attend school? They must have these vaccinations. With a few exemptions, they do exempt kids for medical reasons and some for religious reasons. But yeah. So, do you think that they should be required? Do you think that it should be that requirement is fair? Do you think it should be required for kids to be vaccinated in order to attend public school? And just while you all are thinking about that, I just want to um, name a few diseases that have been eliminated. And when it says eliminated, it doesn't mean that it's wiped off the face of the earth, but the occurrence is so rare that that is considered something that you don't have to worry about. So some of the diseases that have been eliminated through the use of vaccines, the mumps and chickenpox and measles. And like I said, I had measles and chickenpox. I had rubella and measles. But the measles, we're in danger of losing that elimination status because of the outbreak that the United States is currently experiencing. And then polio and smallpox, which are extremely deadly diseases, polio and smallpox. So do you guys think that it is fair?
Okay. We've got two responses so far.
Okay.
Darlene Todd says that she thinks that they should have the vaccines in order to attend school. She did it when she attended school, and Duchess says yes, they should be required. Evidence proves, as Duchess goes on to say, that vaccines reduce the rate of disease, and I totally concur. I think in in the school systems, that's where a lot of the the diseases spread, and they spread very quickly.
Mhm.
Uh, if you recall about 7 years ago, there were many schools in the state of New York that had to shut down because of the outbreak of the flu. And I mean,
Mhm.
it went rampant, and it was so many calling out from the teachers, the staff, the students that they had to shut the schools down because of the outbreak of the flu. However, if you do get vaccinated, it doesn't mean that you're not susceptible to the flu. It just means that you probably will not die. Duchess has said that while most healthy people can overcome these diseases, for others, they are fatal. And as to,
And
thank you.
yeah, and that is, yeah, that is the case, that in some instances they can be fatal. And I can remember when I was in school, uh of course, there was no chickenpox vaccination back when I was in school, but I had a schoolmate that was in school with me the whole time, and she had a disease, and the chickenpox would have been fatal for her. So that was something that when we were in school and while I was there, they were very, very particular and they watched very carefully to try to make sure that no one had the chickenpox and came to school because it could be terminal because of her disease. It would have likely been fatal for her if she had contracted chickenpox. So, like Mr. Jackson said, usually if in schools is where chickenpox spread. And I, for one, can tell you, I did not catch chickenpox in school because, like I said, they were very careful. But I caught chicken pox from school. And that was from Jolisha hanging around with the other kids who had been to school. And they come back and bam, Jolisha has chicken pox. I'm 26 years old, never had chicken pox, but I contracted chicken pox because I had not been vaccinated, but I had not had the chicken pox. And I can tell you for adults, and I don't know if they give vaccinations to chickenpox, I mean, for adults for chickenpox, but for adults contracting chickenpox, and even for me at 26, when I was healthy, no other underlying um, health issues, is amplified. All the adults around me who caught chickenpox at that time had very severe cases of chickenpox. They had very high fevers, swollen lymph nodes, pops everywhere, in the mouth, down the throat, all over the body. So the kids had a lighter case of it, but as adults, we had very severe cases of chicken pox. Um, so, um, so yeah, vaccinations are very important. Um, and like I said, for me, I think if you choose not to vaccinate your child, that is your right as a parent. But I think in that instance, you do indeed need to homeschool your child. You don't need to expose other people's kids to those childhood diseases, those diseases, because of your choice. And it is your choice, but you don't want to expose other children and teachers who may catch measles and it be 10 times more deadly or harsh because they are older. And that's just one lady's opinion. That if you do choose, you say, I don't want my child to be vaccinated, that is your choice. But you need to respect other people's kids and perhaps homeschool your kids. And that's just my opinion.
Okay.
I don't know what anybody else may think of that.
Hey, Julia, we've got some responses. Darlene said that vaccinations help from being so serious if anybody catches something. And Tiffany, in response, said that she got her diseases from her brother. And Darlene said that she had never contracted chicken pox, and she's 66 years old.
And our prayer is, Darlene, that you do not ever catch chicken pox, because it's not something that you want to have, especially as an adult. I thank you guys so much for tonight. This has been a very um, interesting discussion. And this is what I want Let's Talk to be. So we can share our opinions and our thoughts, and we can learn different things from one another. And so I really appreciate those who engaged in the discussion tonight. Um, next week, we're going to have a very special guest on next week. It's going to be my dear, sweet brother-in-law, Dr. Edgar L. Vinson. And I call him Dr. Vinson tonight, and I think he'll let me do it tonight because we're going to be talking about gardening. It's time to start planting those summer gardens, the flower gardens, the vegetable gardens, and Edgar is a doctor in agriculture. He doesn't like you to use that title if you're not talking about him as in agricultural science. So I think I can get away with calling him Dr. Vincent tonight. It's because he's going to be talking to us about agricultural science, and he's going to give us some tips on um, raising a successful garden. Hopefully, we can talk about the raised gardens as well as the traditional gardens and growing and what we need to do to grow successful plants. So that's just in time for spring and for spring planting season. And I can tell you that Dr. Vincent is an expert at what he does because I have a story for you guys. I have a banana tree in my backyard, and everybody, everybody told me that tree will not grow bananas. It will not grow bananas. It will not grow bananas. Edgar said, yes, it will. That is a banana tree. It is a live, active banana tree. Edgar, and he told me, he said, it'll take about 7 years for you to get your first bananas, but it will grow you some bananas. And he started working with it and fertilizing it and cultivating it and pruning it and everything. And I tell you, I think it was 9 years, but one day I'm peeping out my window and I said, what is that on my banana tree? And I ran out the back door, and y'all, I had some bananas. I'm gonna show y'all pictures uh, next week of the bananas that I grew on my banana tree. So yeah, if Edgar can grow some bananas in Opelika, I he knows what he's talking about. Okay, okay. So we're looking forward to Dr. Vincent next week, helping us with our gardens. And so we're going to keep it kind of lighthearted next week because when we move into April, of course, everyone knows that the election is coming up. And so we're going to be talking about various issues. And we're going to look at where the two candidates stand. On these pertinent issues that are affecting all of us. And so we're going to look at both sides where both candidates stand, and we're going to discuss those issues and their impact and the candidate's stance on the impact. I mean, stance on the issue, how that will affect our community because we're trying to build up our community and we're trying to do things that are best for our community and our sisters and brothers. So we're going to be a little light on next week because getting into April, we're probably going to get pretty heavy because we know basically even though the conventions have not happened, we know basically who the two presidential candidates will be in November. So we want to start discussing the issues and looking at the candidates' stance and their platforms and seeing how they affect us because to be informed is to be empowered. Okay, and so we want to make sure that we are well informed before we go to the ballots in November. You,
Okay, very good, Julia. Thank you so much. Looking forward to next week. I've had my share of Dr. Edgar Vincent's uh, prowess in the field of agriculture. Yes, I've seen the banana tree. I've also had access to some of the other fruits and veggies that he's grown, only because I've been over eating at your house. But I wanted to bring our attention to next week. I want to make sure that you look in the chat that St. Luke will be hosting a fish fry on Friday, March 15th,
Mhm.
on the grounds of St. Luke at 1308 Auburn Street in Opelika. We ask that you come out and support this phenomenal opportunity to help to save the edifice of St. Luke AME Church. The whiting plates are $12 and the catfish plates are 15. You can call 334-703-3419 to place your order, or you can just come on by. They will be there beginning at 11. If you need to come a little bit early, we will be there. And we will be there to provide you those plates. We're wanting all of you, for those of you that typically go out on Friday, save your lunch and just stop by and let us feed you. So that'll be this Friday, March 15th at 11 a.m., starting sharp at 11 a.m. until we sell out at St. Luke AME Church, 1308 Auburn Street in Opelika. Again, you can purchase by even putting your order in by calling 334-703-3419. And Darlene, I do see that you are allergic to fish, but guess what? We'll take your donation. You can buy someone else a plate. I mean, you can buy anybody you want to a plate. We'll take it. And it doesn't have to be $15. If you want to give a donation, we'll even take a donation. And I wanted to spotlight another opportunity for us to really support another family oriented, and this is wonderful. This is a podcast. I wanted to make sure that on Mondays that you tune in to Divinely Guided Podcast with Joyce Thomas Vincent and her daughter Adrielle Vincent. So they will have an opportunity to um, talk, and you'll listen and be part of that. Be so engaged in their podcast. So we want you to like and share this particular show. Let's talk. Let's subscribe. Let's send stars to Juju. Let's subscribe to her page, so that we can get her on the. We want to make sure that we get her in, and then finally, before I would be remiss if I didn't talk to us about something that, hey, I'm really near and dear about, and that's our Juneteenth festival. That's going to be happening June 15th, 2024, and it's going to be at 11 a.m. until 3. Super, super, super excited about that. We have a lot of great guests that will be there, vendors. We still are needing vendors. If you want to, we'll be sending out information. We'll be sending out more information via Facebook, and I'm sure Juju will be talking about it at her dollhouse and even on her YouTube. And you'll probably hear a little bit about it on the Divinely Guided podcast as well. So mark your calendars for June 15th, 2024 at 11 a.m. Juneteenth will be on the grounds of St. Luke AME Church. And I'm telling you, if you have not been, you are missing out on a treat. Lots of good food, lots of good vendors, lots of great entertainment, lots of good spoken word, just a lot of gifts and talents that our people are bringing to the table. But more importantly, we need to learn about why we celebrate Juneteenth. And thank you, Tiffany. Tiffany says, "Hold up the light, huddle. We'll be there." So come by and learn about them. It's uh, a wonderful organization. So thank you, Tiffany, for sharing that. And so we're at the time now, Julia. I think I've taken us to that final statement. Let's allow you to close us out, okay?
All righty. Thank you guys so much for joining me tonight. And I just look forward to seeing you all again next week. And I tell you what, if you have any gardening questions for Dr. Vincent next week, go ahead and just shoot them to me. You can just take email. Put them on my. I'll put I'll put a message out there, and you can just put a comment under there so he can answer any of your gardening questions on next week. Just thank you for dropping in, and thank you for talking with me on tonight. I'm going to say good night. I am Juju. I am that mountain moving giant slayer. And until next week, I wish you much love and many blessings. Good night.